Have you ever paid for business education, coaching program, a mastermind, or anything like that, and it didn't work for you? Almost every day I speak to somebody new on a sales call who tells me that this or that program that they attended in the past didn't work for them. What I've realized is that there are 6 levels of being a student of online business education, coaching courses, programs, mastermind, and so on. These 6 levels range from great to bad. And in today's video, I want to break them down really in a lot of detail so that you can recognize yourself in one of the lower levels. And if that is the case, you can then move up to the higher levels. And that way you can get more out of your investment for yourself, and ultimately your business will make more money. Because the truth is that the level that you play at is far more predictive of your success with any given coaching program than the quality of the coaching program itself. The coach you hire knows something that you don't. And so if you are a level 1 or level 2 player, you will do your utmost to extract that value and move on. But conversely, if you sign up to the world's best coaching program and you take only half-hearted action on it, you will not get an ROI, no matter how good the program was. So listen carefully, because in case you have traits of a level 3, 4, 5, and 6, so you can recognize them and eradicate those traits immediately. And all of that comes from my own experience. I've invested about $50,000 into all kinds of coaching programs and masterminds, and I've usually been early on, I've been a level 3, then I graduated to level 2, and only in the recent program that I've attended, I advanced to level 1. And so I want to outline what you need to change about yourself if you want to become a level 1 player. And I've also seen this among my own clients. The people who succeeded were all level 1 or level 2 players. People like Tony, Hamza, Mark, or Pablo. And these people made, of course, a massive return on their investment with me. So let's get into it. And credit where it's due, Alex Hormozi recently had a video on this where he outlined 5 levels of coaching clients. I think there's a little bit more nuance, so I added a 6th level and I elaborated on all of them a little bit more. But without any further ado, here are the 6 levels of being a coaching client. So here you can see the 6 levels on a matrix. On the left, you see a ranking by attitude from positive to neutral to negative. And on the proactiveness level, you see passive and active. And here I've put the 6 levels of coaching clients across a normal distribution and a bell curve. As you can see, the level 1s, there's very, very few of them, just like the level 6s, and the majority are level 4 and level 3. Level 2 and level 5 are relatively small groups, and so this is how they are distributed. Okay, let's get into it. Level 1, active, positive. Those are the absolute killers who do everything the coach tells them to do, and then they become outstanding and improve on the method. They work incredibly hard and have first principle thinking. If it doesn't go against the laws of physics, it must be possible. This is how they think. These people are really rare. As I showed in the bell curve distribution, I would say they're in the top 1%. And it's those types where everything they touch turns into gold. I had the fortune of having had a handful of clients like that, and they're an absolute joy to work with. And honestly, I consider myself the lucky party to have had them, because these people would have succeeded pretty much no matter what and no matter with whom. So the fact that they chose me and invariably gave me a glowing review is more of a testament to their success and not to how good an advisor I was to them. Good. Level 2, active, neutral. Those who believe, well, it has worked for someone like me, so it must work for me as well. And while these people don't have the first principle thinking of level 1, and generally they don't push the envelope on what's possible, they still, unlike level 3 and below, they have a very strong internal locus of control. They know it's all going to be down to them, and that if they fail, it's also their own fault. These people are great. They're very hardworking and they execute flawlessly. They have realistic assumptions for what it will take to win, and they never even think about blaming the program. They have this attitude of, I'll work until I figure it out, which is very different from level 3 onwards, where people have a set amount of hours they're willing to invest into a program. And it's this, I'll do whatever it takes, that sets them apart. However, unlike level 1, they are mostly rule followers. They just follow the playbook. They don't innovate. They copy and paste. They do that diligently. They take feedback well, but they don't venture to the edge of the coral reef and explore the ocean beyond. And that's fine. You'll make a very good living with this attitude, but you probably will not become one of the all-time greats. But still, remember, if you are a level 2, you are still in the top 10% of all the students. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with being a level 2. I was there for a very long time, so absolutely accept it. Okay, level 3, passive positive. Those are the people whose mantra is, well, it has worked for people like me, so it could work for me as well. They're optimistic in principle, but they lack one extremely vital ingredient, the it must work. There's a world of a difference between it must work that level 2 people have and it could work that level 3 people have. Because as soon as something becomes hard and they cannot yet see how they can crack the code, level 3 people will stop trying, especially if they are surrounded by a culture that suggests to them that success should come easy, i.e., if they are on social media. The level 2 person does not stop trying. This is the key difference. Because if you say, well, it must work somehow, you just grind it out. You follow all the coach's instructions. The level 3 person gives up because they lack the belief, the inner certainty that this must work somehow. They start doubting whether this method is right for them, and they allow other people, usually level 3s and below, as well as vendors of alternative methods, to dissuade them and guide them to the next shiny object. For example, a fractional CTO that I had on a sales call once, he had signed up for a cold email program a few months prior. And after doing one half-hearted attempt that didn't book him any calls, this guy concluded that, cold email doesn't work for my market. And he signed up with another program. He wasn't angry about it or anything like that. He just moved on after concluding that the cold email program, hadn't worked for him. And the issue is, there is no it to work if you don't put in a lot of effort into it yourself. It's not that it didn't work. You didn't work, Mr. or Mrs. Level 3. And here's why a level 1 would never do that ever, because there is no law of physics that says that it is impossible for fractional CTOs to get clients via cold email. Maybe there are better methods such that require less effort. Possible, but a level 1 would have researched that before signing up with the cold email program. Once he signed up, he wouldn't have allowed initial failure to dissuade him. He would grind it out. And a level 2 would not do it either, as long as he knows of another fractional CTO who succeeded. And a level 3 person gives up after the first few attempts. But unlike level 4, he doesn't blame the program. He is not a blaming type in general. He just moves on and superficially dips into other methods and sees the benefit of learning a few lessons here or there, all the while this business doesn't make a significant move. Level 3 is also the domain of coaching junkies, people who usually have 2 to 3 coaches at the same time and consume programs like their M&Ms. And when I was a coaching client myself, I oscillated between level 2 and level 3. Only in the recent program that I've joined, I've become a level 1 and I've innovated and developed my own methods that transcended what that program was offering. Point being, even if you have been a 2 or 3 in the past, you can become a level 1. Even if you've been a level 6 in the past, right? You can always become a level 1. And I will give you 2 key ingredients for how to go from the lower levels to level 1. But I'm going to do that after we're done with discussing the rest. Okay. So let's go to level 4. Level 4, passive neutral. Those who say, well, it has worked for others like me. Let's see if it works for me as well. The key distinction between 3 and 4 is let's see. And those small differences in terminology, they matter so much because let's see indicates passivity and detachment. These folks are like the arms crossed type. They see a coaching program as something that rains down on them and transforms them. They expect that it should work, right? They're like the pool owner who has been disappointed with a pool cleaning machine in the past, and now he bought another machine. He plugs it in and observes whether this machine will do a better job at cleaning the pool. This attitude is, of course, perfectly fine with a plug-and-play topic like pool cleaning, but it doesn't work in an area like sales and marketing, where there's far more variables, so many moving parts, such as the market you're in, your level of experience, how likable you are as a person even, your skill level, what clients expect, and so on. What level 4 people, and by the way, level 3 people do that too, but less often. What they don't understand is that coaching is a dialectic process. You need a thesis, antithesis, and from the collision of these two, you get some kind of synthesis at the end. In a process that aims at a skill upgrade and transformation in you, you need to give the program enough to work with. A coaching program has to encounter resistance, not resistance in the form of, let me prove you wrong. That's level 6 stuff, right? No, I mean resistance as in, let's work this method. Let us apply it to a real life scenario. Let's put that horse to work and work it hard. That's a great kind of resistance. Because if you don't have this resistance, it's like an engine that's just spinning and revving in neutral without being able to apply the momentum to the wheels of the car. That is what this fractional CTO did, who I mentioned earlier. He tried cold email very half-heartedly, and because he maybe got a few unfriendly replies, he stopped. And then he went looking for the next shiny object. He didn't give the method a chance to work. He didn't test different angles. He didn't give it enough meat to chomp through. The dialectic process didn't have a chance to work its magic. And the difference between the passive positive level 3 and the passive neutral level 4 types is the general outlook and expectations. You know how people say that your level of happiness is the delta between what you expect and what you get, right? The level 3s are happy and grateful about having learned something new. On bad days, they say that the program didn't work for them, but on good days, where they are more self-aware, they acknowledge that they didn't do what was required to succeed. They don't have the tenacity to push through the obstacles and bend the program to their will, but they are broadly happy to have added a new skill to their quiver, even if they kept it relatively superficial. The level 4 types have a more negative outlook and unrealistic expectations. They expect the program to rain down on them and magically change them without doing much work. And then they're unhappy that that doesn't happen. Level 4 people also have another common misconception about business growth coaching. They believe that a method, a framework, it's supposed to work immediately. But that's a very unrealistic expectation, because in every application of a framework, a program, a method, there are nuances that you need to figure out. A coaching program is not a one-size-fits-all. Making a coaching program work is always an approximation, a process of dialing things in little by little. And only by applying the framework and really stress testing it, you will find out the nuances where you have to figure things out on your own. And it's going to be a place where the coaching program hasn't gone before. Also, as an aside, this is also where you can help make the coaching program better. And that way you build a very strong relationship with the coach, and many good things will come from that. I always love it when my clients tell me, hey, look, this is what I tried, this is what worked for me. And it's a tiny nuance different from what I taught them, right? And this is how we can keep pushing the edges of what we know outward, and we therefore can also include more people in it. And unfortunately, level 4s are far from having this kind of partnership mentality. They expected a better pool cleaning machine, and they didn't get one. So level 5, passive negative. These people say it might have worked for other people, but it probably won't work for me. And that's often coupled with either because my business is so unique and I'm such a special snowflake, which is narcissism, or a woe is me kind of attitude of, oh, because I'm so uniquely inept, which is another form of narcissism, slightly more negative one. And very often level 5 people are strongly driven by, and you can also call it that they're in a prison of, their own likes and preferences. I once worked with a client whose offer was perfectly well suited for cold email and conversation prospecting, but he flat out resisted because, as he said, he hated outbound with a passion. Level 1 or 2 players don't care whatsoever about what they like or don't like. They have a goal and they work towards that goal, and they use the tools at their disposal. If outbound it is, they just do it. They don't care if they like it or dislike it. And then finally, level 6, active negative. These people say, I will prove that this will not work for me. Okay. Alex Hormozy talks about this type. I personally am lucky enough to not have met somebody like this. So there's not much I can comment on these people. If they indeed exist, then it's a pretty sad way to live. Imagine spending a lot of money only to prove the owner of the program wrong, right? What a great way to live. So you can marvel at this creature and just best run the other way as fast as you can. So we won't be discussing them for a very long time. Okay. Those are the levels. Now, you will notice that from level 3 onwards, the chances of success are dramatically dropping, right? That I only gave the seal of approval to level 1 and level 2. And visually, it looks like 90% of coaching clients are level 3 and below, right? Yes, that is largely true. This is a big reason for why coaching programs and masterminds have, largely speaking, a crappy reputation. Not because they're bad, but because there's a lot of 4s, 5s, and 6 in the world, because all the negative voices and all the people who expose the fake gurus, right? They tend to be people level 4 and below. They expected magic from the program, or they talk to people who expected magic from the program. They didn't put in the work, and then they complain. I recently spoke to somebody, let's call him Bob, who criticized one of my favorite online gurus, a guy I've worked with and who I believe is beyond reproach. Hardworking, dedicated, ethical, and Bob called that guy a scammer, total fraud, as he said. And when I asked Bob if he had actually done the work that the guru teaches, well, guess what? He said he did, and it didn't work for him. Upon some probing, he had barely given it a try. I didn't keep probing after that, but I'd be surprised if he had been anything more than a level 5. Now imagine what happens if Bob has a platform and can amplify this view. And this is how you get a bunch of negative views of coaching programs. But on the more positive side, you see that by being a level 1 or 2, you dramatically increase your chances of success. And so now let's talk about how you can become at least a level 2. Because I've made this transition, as I said, myself, from being mostly a level 3 into a level 1 in the most recent one I joined. And there are 2 secret ingredients in it. One is a technical piece of meta knowledge, and one is an attitudinal mindset shift. Let's start with the mindset shift, because that's the thing that will allow you to completely skip the bottom 3 levels straight into level 3 or above. And you will never say, this didn't work for me ever again. And that mindset shift is a term borrowed from Jocko Willing, and that is extreme ownership. The admission that your entire life situation is your doing. You are 100% responsible for where you are right now. Even if it concerns things that you didn't cause, even things that are absolutely not your fault, they are still your responsibility. And your choices in the past have led up to those things that happened. This message may take some time to sink in fully. It may feel absurd. It may even feel offensive to you if, for example, you've experienced abuse or worse. But resist the temptation to dismiss it or to only embrace it partially. It'll be very hard to become a level 2 and impossible to become a level 1 if you don't truly believe it. And I think that this is personally one of my strengths, that I've always took extreme ownership. If anything, I tend to beat myself up too much over my past choices. And that means that I've never been at a level 4 or below. Now, the second ingredient, the one that will get you now out of the pool of mediocrity, that is level 3, and into level 1 or 2, that is the 6 rules of meta knowledge of which program to pick and which to avoid. The reason I was a level 3 in the past was because I didn't have these meta skills and I picked the wrong program. Therefore, I wasn't as invested in them. So let's go through them. Rule 1 of 6 is that you always pick a program that's biased towards action. Ask the program owner, what is the primary activity you will be doing on a daily basis? Some people I speak to have gone into programs before whose main focus is offer creation and strategy. And when I ask them what the primary daily action is that moves the needle, the activity that if you do more of it every day, you'll make more money. Is it conversational prospecting? Is it cold email? Is it running ads? They aren't able to tell, as if this weren't a super important topic. If it's a program that helps you create an offer, you need to have a way to put that offer to the test with strangers. You cannot just create an offer and ta-da, you're done. You have to refine it through testing and iteration. So whenever you're considering a program, things like strategy and offer creation need to be there. But then the focus needs to be on the action that will book you sales calls. Number 2, pick a program that's right for where you are right now. Here, it pays to spend some time learning about sales and marketing. Many of the people I know who have made wrong choices in coaching programs know very little about sales and marketing, and they just allowed somebody charismatic to talk them into their program. For example, it's a very common rookie mistake to invest into a paid ads program when you have no experience whatsoever in selling your service to strangers. Investing into paid ads at this point is like trying to run before you can walk. Paid ads are an accelerant of an already proven offer that has been sold successfully via cold email or LinkedIn outreach, or even content. Another person that I know invested in a program that places salespeople into your business, and all of that before he has conducted even 10 sales calls himself and before having a concise offer. The problem is that very few coaching programs will actively reject you if you're not a fit. Unfortunately, most people are not that ethical. They have commission-based salespeople who don't have anything to gain from advising you to do something else before investing with them. So as long as you want to buy, they'll happily take your money, even if what they sell is not the best fit for you right now. So be skeptical and critical. Understand where you are on the path to business growth. Understand the rules of sales and marketing. If you're following this channel, you're doing already very well. And just don't buy something that you'll need 3 years down the line. Buy something that you will need now. Now, rule number 3 is ensure that the program follows the progression: network, sales, marketing, product, brand. If it doesn't, don't buy it, because there's a right order in which client getting tactics you deploy. You start with your existing network. Obviously, that's where you start and try to get your first few clients. Then you learn sales, and you do that before you do a lot of marketing, okay? Reminder, sales is interrupting somebody and asking for the sale directly. Marketing is providing value to become known, liked, and trusted. Okay, I made a big video on this topic, sales before marketing. I'm going to link to it. Please watch that. Super important to understand. Sales before marketing. And once you have a sales pipeline built, then you amplify it with smart marketing. Then you build a product or productize your service. And then finally, you build your personal brand. Most people get this wrong, and without having had a lot of clients yet, they work on building their brand, for example. I once met a woman who was in her second year of running her business. She had 2 to 3 clients from her network. She was making very little, practically nothing, but some branding agency had talked her into paying a $5,000 a month retainer to build her personal brand. And when we spoke, she was 5 months in with them. So that's $25,000 out of the door without a new client. She had no idea how to sell her offer proactively. She didn't even have an offer as we define it. And she was wasting money on amplifying something that didn't even work on a micro scale. You always have to first establish an offer that if you put it in front of 100 strangers in your target market, you'll book at least one call with one of them. And only once you have that, you have that reliably and repeatably, then you can amplify your reach with marketing and later building your personal brand. Okay, just really make sure that the coaching program that you're investing is following this sequence, right? Network, sales, marketing, product, brand. Number 4, the program owner should be 1 or 2 levels above you, but not 10. I made this mistake early on. The first coaching program that I bought in 2018 was making $30 million a year. That's far too advanced, and the owner had completely outgrown the grassroots growth tactics that he was supposedly teaching. The bulk of his business came from Facebook ads. Also, there was no way for me to get one-on-one time with him. As a beginner, you need a lot of attention from the coach. You need some one-on-one time. So it's best to work with somebody who you can realistically be like in 6 to 12 months' time. You won't be able to pay for a one-on-one time with a figure like Hormozi, so pick someone who is just a few steps ahead of you, who you can afford to work with. And when I say the program owner should be 1 or 2 levels above you, it doesn't mean that they need to necessarily make more money than you, right? It's a good proxy figure, but it doesn't apply all the time. I've worked with several companies that were making way more than me, but what they didn't know was how to turn strangers into clients. On that front, I was ahead of them. So the aheadness is in terms of the skill that you're looking to improve in. Rule 5, pick a program that will help you unblock the currently biggest bottleneck. That's the power of just-in-time training that programs offer, as opposed to classic university programs like an MBA, which offers just-in-case training. Look at what your current bottleneck is. In most cases, it's not having enough sales calls, okay? You have to make sure that you really understand what you currently are lacking, okay? Or, for example, if you're trapped with a few clients who pay you very little, but you have to work a lot for them, you barely have enough time to do anything else, then your bottleneck is either your skills, you're selling a too low value skill, your level of confidence, you're not daring to ask for more money, or your offer, because you may be selling an input skill. Let's say you're an executive coach, right? But you're not selling a result, which is usually the thing that people are willing to pay more for. So whatever your bottleneck is, pick a program that emphasizes that. But always beware rule 1, okay? Don't just get confidence coaching if confidence is the issue. That's not action-oriented. These soft topics like confidence need to be a byproduct of an action-oriented program. Or another example, alternatively, if you do have a lot of sales calls, but you're bad at selling, get a program that will help you solve that issue next. And only buy a personal branding program when you have a predictable sales machine humming, where you know your CAC to LTV ratio and your funnel metrics, appointment booking rate, show up rate on sales call, closing rate, etc. And then finally, rule 6, apply common sense judgment. Those are the classic requirements that you would apply to anyone you work with. Like, those are the hygiene factors. For example, in my opinion, avoid people who flaunt luxuries, the Lamborghini, Rolex types, okay? The good to bad person ratio in that crowd is just too out of whack for me to take a risk there. Also, avoid people without any track record, unless you want to give a young, plucky upstart a chance, in which case only work with them on a commission and referral basis. So you pay them if you get a result, and then you'll also give them a referral if you're happy with them. But that should be the deal, okay? Avoid like a plague people who have 2 or more different lines of work. I'm super serious about this. Like, whenever I see somebody who is running a specific coaching business and then they moonlight also as whatever, a graphic designer, right? Horrible. Like, I just can't believe that people actually sign up with these people. By definition, these people cannot be good at either one of those things, because there are people who do this job full time. And so these people who do it full time must be better than this person who is trying to, sell you one of the things. Just like a restaurant, when they are selling pizza and sushi, they will not be very good at either one of those things. Another important hygiene factor that's becoming more and more common these days is a money back guarantee. I find this a very useful tool to separate the wheat from the chaff. As long as the terms are reasonable, a money back guarantee tells me that the program owner is confident that his methods will work on the majority of his clients, and they're willing to put their neck on the line. And finally, I want to see consistent content output from my future to-be coach advisor. It's such an important trust builder. It's more and more required these days. And if you cannot be bothered to do quality in-depth videos, it tells me you're just trying to make a quick buck and you vanish into the night, okay? Spending considerable amounts of time on a non-immediately revenue-generating activity like this video is, at least to me, that's a signal that you are taking your craft seriously. So those are the 6 rules. But what is not a criterion, what I would really recommend you do not apply as a rule, is whether you get along with the coach, whether you like the coach, okay? Of course, they shouldn't be a complete dickhead, but I don't need to be best buddies with my coach. I'm not hiring a friend. I'm hiring someone competent at their craft. This needs to be the decision-making criterion. And that's a very important point, and one we should dissect a bit, because there is a setting where your relationship with the person of authority matters a lot, and that is Therapy. I think Jordan Peterson said recently that two factors more than any other determine the positive outcome of therapy: willingness to change by the client and the quality of the relationship with the therapist. But I think therapy is not a good analogy to draw from when it comes to business coaching. Yes, it all starts with you, so you have to be willing to change, even if you learn something as technical as Facebook ads. But your personal transformation is not at the heart of the coaching program. It's a byproduct of you doing the work. As Hormozi says, the work works on you more than you work on it. Just by the sheer act of acting on your coach's advice in good faith, you gradually transform. It doesn't matter if you get along with your coach. Look at Karate Kid. Daniel LaRusso was not chummy with Mr. Miyagi at all. They were like oil and water in the beginning. Same with Luke Skywalker and Yoda, right? But back to Karate Kid, Daniel, by overcoming his ego and acting on what Mr. Miyagi told him to do, became competent at his craft, which then gradually improved the relationship with his coach. Time and time again, in all great stories, from Karate Kid to Musashi to Luke Skywalker, the guide and teacher to the hero is relatively aloof, sometimes a borderline hostile force, who seems to disdain the disciple at the early stages of their relationship. And as they should, because it's just another young buck who has not proven himself, and he's trying to be something that they are currently not. So of course, the grizzled teacher will be like looking at them with skepticism and say, well, are you the real deal or not? And only gradually, once the disciple proves himself to be the real deal, well, then the relationship can improve. So don't look for somebody who you'd want to have a beer with. I think actually being too chummy with your coach can be detrimental to your success in a coaching program. It's easy then for a coaching session to turn into a friendly catch-up. And if the pressure to perform is gone from a relationship and gets replaced by friendly banter, you're more likely to slack off. So that's the meta knowledge. If you have that in place and you follow these 6 rules, you will generally make the right choice in a coaching program. And then you'll have very little room to convince yourself that this didn't work for you a few months in. If that feeling does come up, you will know that it's your inner wuss trying to wiggle out from doing uncomfortable things. Final nugget: if in the past you've been at a level 3 or below and you want to upgrade, don't shoot for level 1. It's too far out. It will lead you to innovate too early, and you will not spend enough time on the basics. Okay? Spend time in the crucible of being a level 2. Follow instructions. Be a great, diligent student. Make it your goal to be the coach's best student. Okay? Match your coach and become as good as them. That should be your goal. And only then innovate and become a level 1. In our culture, we have a strong urge to avoid being an apprentice. We want to advance too fast. We want to declare ourselves the master too quickly. But anything worth doing is difficult. There's a documentary, Jiro Dreams of Sushi, about an 80-something Japanese chef who runs the best sushi place in the world with his son. And the son, about 60 years old, after having done sushi for half a century, he's quoted as not feeling ready to take over because he feels he's still a novice in the art of sushi making. Now, that's a very impressive way of showing eternal apprenticeship and humility. So don't try to reach level 1 for a few years. Be a good level 2 for a while. So am I saying that all coaching programs are great and that it's always your problem if you do not get a good ROI? Well, if you're on board with extreme ownership, then the answer to the second part of the question is yes, it is always your problem. And no, of course, not all coaching programs are great. I once invested in a coaching program that was kind of on its way out. The owner sold me into it, fully knowing that his method has kind of lost its mojo. And he also himself had a few personal problems that prevented him from being present in the program. But still, I got some ROI on this program. I just extracted the value that I could. But even if there are crappy programs out there, I hope that this video has shown you a path to get a better ROI by choosing the right one and having a good attitude about it. One thing that a good coaching program should teach you in any case is how to create a good offer. And if you want to learn how to create a kick-ass B2B offer and all of that without investing into any coaching program completely for free, just watch the next video, which is called the best B2B offer creation training on the internet.